Hi, this is Dr. Corey, and welcome to my plant jungle. I am going to propagate my monstera this weekend, so you're seeing it right now in its full splendor and glory. And so I'm Dr. Corey. I'm a naturopath, licensed physician, and I'm also a writer, and I love birds. Only some of that's relevant today, but mostly it's the birds. So I'm talking today about neurodivergence assessments, specifically autism assessments, and what that means, what that might look for you if you're interested in pursuing that route, and just the whole process of it. And full disclosure, I am a little camera shy, and I have tried this for like an hour. So if you're seeing this, then it means we were successful today. This is not my full time job. I do love YouTube. Watch it quite a bit. Shout out to Chloe and sometimes Ludwig. I'm just trying my best here, and so sorry the lighting's bad, whatever. We'll just get through this together because you're not here because I have great lighting. You're here because you want to hear more things about what your experience living through the world might look like in a different lens. And so, what is autism and how has it changed over time? And that's a whole book, that's a whole topic. But very quickly, there is a lost generation of people that never really got an autism assessment. Nobody ever thought about them in relation to autism, because there was really only one type of child who was considered for an autism assessment, and that tended to be people who were raised as boys and white and sort of more privileged because they were people who were raised within this culture. So people who were raised female, people of color, and people from other cultures just probably were not considered for an autism assessment as children before the year 2000, for sure. And that has changed over time, but how much has it changed? I'm not sure, but still, I'm just focusing in my practice on adult assessments right now, and hopefully trying to validate the experience of a lot of you who have just felt a little out of step, a little bit you know, your neuroprocessing has not aligned with the neuroprocessing of like most of the world, and that has maybe led to burnout, challenges in receiving mental health care because some of the strategies like CBT have been proven to not as effective for autistic people, and even certain medications just may not have worked with your biochemistry, and it may feel really frustrating, really invalidating, and also nobody's really celebrating your beautiful strengths. There is a lot of beauty in autism, and nobody's really talking about that. And so part of my journey with you is a collaborative process, trying to be as neuro affirming as possible. We all make mistakes, and please correct me if I use the wrong language. I'm learning, and I want to know, I want to validate what's right for you, and trying to work within that framework, and also provide access needs where possible, through work, school, the state, however that works. And that means sometimes working within frameworks that are not our friends necessarily, but we have to it's almost like a means to an end for certain accommodations. But the language that I use both in my questions, in my reports, are as hopefully identity focused and affirming to you as possible. Some of the trainings I received were yeah, be neuro affirming in your questions, but then like the report that can sound as like diagnostic as possible to like play within the realm of like health modern healthcare practitioners. That's I get that, but like I don't know. I was just like built some like language and mapping around like, the report and like how it maps to current frameworks. And to me, it's like that makes a lot more sense than having like the report not match your experience and like our experience together in the neurodivergence assessment. So let's talk about what the assessment looks like. So it's a process where like we'll start with like informed consent, making sure you feel comfortable and safe, and like trying to build in accommodations where possible. Those like I'm like building out over time. So just please request what you need, and hopefully we can work through that. And like working within my own like sensory and neurotype too, like to make sure that like I, as your practitioner, am also like working like at my best, and we'll match those together. um and I'm sure that we can come together on that. And then the assessment itself is a number of questions. It's really meant to like highlight your story and your experience, and like I'm gonna ask about childhood because part of like understanding autism is like sort of like a foundation point of it is that it should have been experienced over time throughout childhood. There are questions of like, is it autism or is it like trauma related PTSD, and like teasing out those differences like can be very nuanced, and it can be like collaborative, a process of like, well, what fits for you, what feels right for you, and like really talking through really what that means in that context. And some of the pre-screening questionnaires, like the RADS or the CAT-Q or like the monotropism questionnaire, those can be useful, but they are not diagnostic. So we can talk through like, many people have already been on this journey before they even talk to me, and like have taken some self questionnaires, and we can talk about what those mean. And the assessment questionnaires, we like my questions are interview style, like that is very much like neuroaffirming. um I There are a number of resources I've used to kind of get to this point. Some of them are like really gatekeepy and like behind paywalls and stuff, and it's like, no, the whole point of this is to make it easier for people to access neurodivergent care, neurodivergent assessments. And so like I get that you have this like revolutionary idea for a questionnaire and you want to get paid for it, but like I take a lot of problem with that. Like, there's so many barriers to accessing quality care, and that's like a huge problem, and like could save lives literally to be able to like access neurodivergent assessments. And so like keeping it behind a paywall, I'm like, that person is probably not gonna be my friend. um I'm sorry for this like little rant about gatekeeping, but like it's important because like in my training I received like a class, maybe two classes. I'm not talking like a semester long class. I'm talking like 1 or 2 hours of classes of like learning about autism assessments, and it was only geared towards pediatric populations. And like there were some like tech errors during this, so the lady was like really frustrated, and like I don't know, it was just bad. It was bad. And that was like most of us. Most of us learn this as just like it's a childhood thing. Don't think of it in adulthood. Don't think of like all these like incredibly nuanced and like beautiful ways autistic people experience the world, like, and how like we really need to be mindful of that as healthcare practitioners. But I'm going on a rant. I tried using this like teleprompter software, and that just made it all worse. So maybe one day I will be like a teleprompter person, but right now it's just me and my plans, and just we're all here for it. And so then after the assessment, which lasts about like 2 to 3 sessions, then we will have a follow up feedback session where I will share my report. That's about going to be like 2 to 4 pages usually. And that's really focused on your experience, like your how you see and sense the world, and it hopefully is collaborative, and it should be like very validating for you. And also too, I have like mapping documents and like letters for like state and work and school if you need it, so that healthcare practitioners can understand that this is like your experience, and hopefully like accessing those accommodations if they're needed, hopefully will not only not be a problem, but like hopefully starting to educate healthcare practitioners and authorities that you have to deal with, so that they understand what neurodivergent looks like, and like what neuroaffirming language might be. To me, like that's like a critical piece of this, is like I want to like even just expand that framework that you live in just like a little bit more, so that it's like a little bit easier for you to move through that, instead of just like handing over some like pathologic kind of sounding paperwork. It just does not feel right to like have that mismatch, even if it's probably maybe easier for like some middle manager boss to read. Like, now I'm just ranting again. I've had middle manager bosses, and I'm like, sorry, like it's hard. It's a hard world to live in. Even I'm just now I'm still gonna keep this in because I like don't know if I have time to edit. Anyway, so finishing off, we talked about informed consent, assessment, feedback, and then what's the last piece is like, well, what next? Like, how do you move through the world? And really just talking about what that looks like for you and next steps. Just making sure that you leave this feeling like you know where to go and what to do next. Um, and so I know I just like talked about a lot. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I really hope that I can support you through your journey, and that we can collaborate on how to make the world feel just a little bit easier for you. All right, thanks.